Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a great Friday. Everyone's excited for the weekend. I know I am. Um, but today we're going to be reviewing a day that I should have reviewed one night ago, but I'm doing it now. Since the day of it, I just have so many things that I need to do re regarding trading, that it kind of took from the time that I was able to record this. So I'm doing it now, and that's what matters. I will attempt to be more consistent with my timings in the future, especially going to next week. But today we're going to be reviewing um, May 15th, 2025, and we're going to be skipping May 14th because May 14th was a day that I did not trade, and it was a day that I did not see or gain anything from recording a review on, other than basically wasted cloud space and a 1 minute video that I would be putting on my series that would kind of be irrelevant. So I said, let me skip to the good day, May 15, and let's just review that. So, as always, information should not be considered as an offer or attachment to buy, sell, or trade. And let's move into the weekly chart. Here is the E-mini NASDAQ for the June 25 contract. If you guys recall, last time on my previous video, I said that we're going to move into this gap here, and I drew out the levels 0.75 level, the zero point 0.5 level, the 0.25 level. And as you can see, the Tuesday had the job of moving into the 0.25 quadrant of that city here. So moving into the hourly chart of May 15, you can see the first thing that I saw when I woke up was this new day opening gap here being formed. And I saw this run lower that happened during London. Now, obviously, when this run first happened, it's kind of put me off of my confidence going into the day trying to look for longs, because of the range of the London. And usually what I do is I take the range of the previous 5 sessions and I take the average of that. And if the current London session is greater than that in terms of points, I will honestly just not trade that day. And if I do find a good trade, I will do a 20 point take profit and 20 point stop loss. But usually days where they arrange like this, you're not provided with the best price action. And if you are kind of molding price into what you want to see, you'd often be taken out with very inefficient price action. So that's something that I was trying to avoid going into today. But here, if you see, this is a Notion node that I created on May 15th, 9:13 a.m. Eastern Time, which is right in 13 minutes into the open of this candle here. And price was all the way extended down here, and I said that this day is the only day within this week so far that has had a reach lower. This was expected, but the expectation of the SIBI, now inverse to hold us higher, is now gone. I expected this inverse SIBI to push through the end product created, highlighted in orange. I will actively seek trades that will fulfill this. So basically what I'm saying here, sorry, I just mumbled a lot while reading that. I don't know why it's hard for me to read my own notes, but what I was basically saying is this was the only day where we saw that price did not move that much um, above its midnight open prior to 9:30. Like all the days before, we just had complete movements higher, and we'd only want to look to short toward midnight open if we were looking to seek just trading. But obviously, the 2 days before this which were the only trading days that I had. I was not able to. I was not able to. I was not able to trade because of market conditions, and I was also just put in a place in price action where I was sure that it was going to go up, but the ways that price manipulated did not allow me to participate in kind of faking people are going to go short on a move lower. So with this move lower here, I acknowledge that this was the first move lower that we've had in a week and that it was expected since we've been just so overextended. And the expectation of this SIBI here that was inverse with this move higher to hold us higher and bring us towards more premium arrays is still not gone. So, and obviously I had the new day opening gap here, and I said that price could push through that and dot raised highlighted in orange. So, moving into the 4 hour, just a quick note before we move into the more micro time frames. When I first saw this, I had my anticipation that if we were to move higher, then I would want to see that the run on this low, which is a intermediate-term low inside this fair value gap, to hold as a turtle soup. If 930 would manipulate beneath this low, that would mean that my idea is flawed and that I'm looking at the wrong side in price action. Now, another thing that I want to mention is that if we go back one slide, notice how this low here was actually London low. So I used the idea and I used the concept of how London low is sometimes formed as low of day to kind of back the idea of this low here being the low of the day. And therefore, that would mean that the run on this low here should be a turtle soup. And if 930 decides to manipulate it beneath this turtle soup and spend time hovering around this area too much, then that would obviously mean that my idea is flawed. And now, before I move on to the next slide, I want you to ask yourself, after we've acknowledged this, after we've set the idea that this is going to be turtle soup, where could 930 manipulate now? Where can we expect price to draw into before creating the real move, which was this push higher? So here we are back on the hourly, and the obvious answer was arrays that are not below, but above the turtle soup that would hold as a continuation um, sort of manipulation. So it would kind of serve as a bound for how low price can manipulate before it reaches the turtle soup. And obviously, with this being the 9 a.m. candle, we have the order block, which is the final down close candle as we ran this low here. And obviously, if we are correct in anticipating that it's going to be a turtle soup, then this candle here should hold us higher as it did here. Now on the 15-minute, we also have this negation block. Notice here we have a low, a high. We failed to make a lower low beneath this low here. And then we have a higher high, making this down move here a order block, or sorry, a mitigation block. And notice we also have equal highs by side liquidity, which is visible on the 1 minute time frame, but it's not visible here since this is the 15-minute. But I have a low marked here with a dotted line and an X mark, and I usually mark beginnings of the buy program with the dotted line and the X mark. And once we get into the 1 minute time frame, we'll understand more to why this was a buy program initiation and why this low was prominent. Now, quickly before I go on the 1 minute, this low here was nested in the consequent encroachment of the mitigation block. And usually what happens with prices when there's a discounted low set in a bullish mitigation block, what price more often than not does is that it goes lower. It takes out the discounted low inside of the or beneath the midpoint of the mitigation block, and then from there it forms a breaker. So we have a low, we have a higher high, then a lower low, and we have the higher high that form. And obviously here it did not hold as perfectly as we would have wanted it to, but we can see that there was displacement and that this low here was untouched. What I would have liked to see was this low here be untouched since this is the low of the breaker, but nevertheless it did deliver and did bring us back into that lower bound of the weekly fair value gap. So here we have the 1 hour time frame. The first percent fair value gap is this candle here. We also have our 9:30 a.m. candle right around. I'm pretty sure it was this candle. This is also the opening range gap low. We had the high right around just where the equal highs buy side liquidity is. So that was the entire opening range gap. And we can see that price formed this first planetary value gap, and then from there went beneath it, and then went back above it, went beneath it one more time. We took this low, and this is where a lot of traders would be tempted to taking a position where you would be going long too early, which is on the sweep of this low here. How we return back to the first planetary value gap. Oh my God, it's so hard to say. And then from there we inversed, or sorry, reclaimed the first planetary value gap, and then many people would have taken this as a trigger to go long, but obviously, for people who know what they're looking for, they would understand that the run on this low was first of all way too shallow, and we had the requirement of touching the order block and touching and running the low that was nested inside of the consequent approachment level of the mitigation block. And as you can see, as price did that, that's where I have my program initiation marked. And from there, for value gap, we touch into that 1, 2, 3 times. Back higher, we inverse, or sorry, reclaim the first presentation for value gap, and then from there, we deliver higher. We take out this high here. Then we accumulate a little bit. We held this gap here a little lower for some time. Went back into this gap, inverse that gap, and then reclaimed it. This is where it kind of got a little bit choppy, and where I was not participating in anything. And then from there, we through the first presented for value gap again. I'm going to reach for equal highs buy side liquidity. Right, so from there, as we ran the equal highs buy side liquidity, you can see that we reached into that 0.25 level of that weekly fair value gap. We spent some time with it. See, we used that 0.25 level once here, run beneath it, refer back to it, start to trade lower, and then here we approach the final hour of trading where we run down lower, touch back perfectly into that first percent fair value gap, and from there we run higher, use the low of that weekly city again, taking us back higher, back above equal highs, and then accumulate and then close off within the new day opening gap. That's going to be it for this recap. Hope you all enjoyed this and learned something. And May 16's review will be out soon. Thank you all for watching. As always, hold willing, be safe.